Hi, my name's Kevin McQuillan, and the following pre-recorded conversations are my attempt to make sense of the human experience through the practice of yoga. I hope you enjoy. All right. We gather up here, have a conversation, get the shape of the theme of the day. We are nestled into a yoga teacher training. That's not true for all of you, but for some, that is true. And we're moving into the next theme of the day, and the next theme of the day is very much about connection. Connecting. And the process to connect. That's what we've been exploring over our last several days. The gateway in, vulnerability. We explored that in great detail, how vulnerability supports authenticity. And authenticity supports a particular kind of communication that ideally leads you into connection. And so connection is what we'll speak about today. Oh, and it's so delicate, isn't it? Connection. Connection to self, connection to others, connection to things. And it is fascinating. You start to explore your relationship to connection, and more so your practice around connection and how you attempt to connect. And two distinctions I think is worth exploring this morning and throughout our day together is, are you attempting to connect or are you attempting to win? That's different. I wish to connect with you, or I wish to win over you. That's very different posture. And that's what we'll explore this morning in this conversation. Connect versus win. The tendency and the automatic posture is wanting to win. That's the consideration. If I win, you lose. And that's better for me. If you're constantly losing, that's good because you're weaker than I. And I like to surround myself with weak people, just in case. Just in case I have to crush you when you act out or out of alignment or something like that. And so that's the consideration, the view into how you connect with people. Up on the board are some interesting distinctions. I even put numbers this morning. I'm getting fancy with my whiteboards. I'm getting so fancy. When I want to connect, but only under my terms and conditions. I have terms and conditions, and that's how I wish to attempt to connect with you, and only under my terms and conditions. Yes, you probably have some too, but those are irrelevant. The number one condition, I'm committed to being offended. Hopefully you're starting to understand that, how committed and deeply committed you are to being offended. We've been spending each day uncovering all the ways in which you can be offended. And that can be a posture, and it is a posture. That leads us into number two, I have thin skin and I must be babied. So best you do that. My needs are more important than yours, and my number one need is I must feel safe. And that is your responsibility to make me feel safe, because I'm a baby and I have thin skin and I'm sensitive. You can go something like that. You may say to yourself, this guy's absurd. Where is this all coming from? If you start to uncover your presuppositions, your emotions in response, how you behave in the world, you'll start to understand how relevant this conversation is. And if you can't relate, you're just simply naive, and that's okay too. Best you bend to my will, otherwise I will crush your spirit. Welcome to romantic relationships in some way. You get out of line and I'll crush you. And I'll continue to crush you until you give in. And if you've ever seen somebody with their spirit crushed, it is deeply unpleasant. It's the breaking of somebody, breaking their spirit. And we have the capacity to do that, especially over a span of time. We have a unique way of being able to torment and torture the people that we're closest to. Absolutely. We know they're hot buttons, and we'll poke them every once in a while. That can come across as, whatever that comes across as, complaining, you never get anything right, why you do things this way, you should do it that way. Never thanking anybody for doing anything. Focusing on the negative. You're useless, and let me tell you how useless you are. And that can be a focus that we have. And more of a focus than perhaps you can even understand. How much we can be lodged into a complaint. I know what's best, and never forget it. I know what's best for me, and I certainly know what's best for you. And so just accept my support, because I know what's best for you. And if you resist, I'll force until you submit. And so let me care for you how I want to care for you. Let me love you like I wish to love you, even if it doesn't fit. It's best for you. And what's in this is the unwillingness to change and the attempt to force other people to change. We're fierce in various different ways attempting to stay the same. No, you change. I don't need to change. I'm perfect. I have my shit together. Don't pay attention here. Let's pay attention to you and what you don't have going on in your life. It's the recipe to win. And then what's winning? Winning is controlling. Winning is dominating in some ways. I like to win the game. We're wired that way, to win as many games as we can. And life is one large game, and what's nestled into this one large game is many different games. And if we're winning, we're not losing. And if we're winning, we're proving something to ourselves that we have value and some worth, and yay for me. I have the right to exist. The issue with this is the practice. And the practice is also up on the board and goes something like this. I'll shun others. So I'll shun you. In that, I'll self-sabotage. And when I self-sabotage, I get to be alone. And that's nice. Then I won't be around all of you bothers, because you're bothering me with all your nonsense. As I choose to be alone, I reinforce my belief system. And then you could ask yourself, what's your belief system? And it goes something like, you have no worth, you have no value, nobody likes you, nobody loves you. You don't have the right to exist. That's the belief system. And it's unique to you, of course. And as we reinforce that, what we're attempting to do from that place is prove that we have value. It's this reinforcing cycle that we're in. We cause problems and attempt to solve them. It's very strange. One way we can do that is there is something wrong here. There's something wrong here. There's something wrong out here. There's something wrong here. There's something wrong here. Something's not quite right. And as we cause problems for ourselves, we're attempting to overcome those problems by winning. That's what we've been exploring over the last 4 days together for you in the training. And it's a very difficult thing to embrace, what we've been exploring and how you're wired. You could ask yourself, why is this relevant to yoga teacher training? Because if your posture is to win over your students, that's not going to go very well. In whatever way you're attempting to win them over, get them to like you, dominate them, I don't know, whatever. How this shows up in my life, or showed up in my life in various different ways, is bracing for impact. I think that's probably the best way of putting it. Bracing myself for impact, being around other people. This is not going to go very well. Most likely I'm going to be embarrassed, humiliated, and hurt. That's probably what's going to happen if I put myself in a relationship with other people. So embrace for impact. It's not going to go well. And in that is behaviors where I act very strange. Maybe I'm fidgety, I don't make eye contact. For years, I would go beet red for sure. I was embarrassed to be in the presence of another person. I didn't know how to act. And so I was constantly bracing for impact. And I find myself doing that at times still, bracing for impact. This is not going to go well, especially if there's any kind of disruption. And so it's a fear-based experience. It's like, ee! And I sabotage the interaction by being so weird. I'm clumsy, I don't know how to speak, like whatever. And as I self-sabotage, I have all the evidence I need that you're not safe. And so don't do that again. Get out of that relationship as quickly as you can and be alone. And in that, I get to be right. And what I was right about, can consistently be right about, that people are a threat. And they're after me. Which can lead into this weird like paranoia. I'm out of balance, I'm in the wobble. I don't know how to take care of myself. It's like, whoa, what's going on? And then you expand that by a bunch of people, and it's like, things get strange real quick. And so what I started to notice is that how masterful I was at self-sabotaging myself through interactions with other people. Constantly reinforcing that relationships aren't safe, and it's best that you're not in them. Or if you are in them, only under your terms and conditions. And of course, that never works. It's one way to dismantle a relationship very quickly. And how committed I was to winning. Winning with my own belief that I'm not safe and people are a threat. It's a very strange thing to continue to reinforce. And that's the attempt through relationships. You're reinforcing something by winning, and the idea is that you understand what you're reinforcing, and it's nothing good. The very reason why you're so willing to be on your own at times. You ever notice that? How you extract yourself from relationships at times? Crawl under the bed, into the bathtub, I don't know, isolate in some ways. We're pretty good at it. And this is what I'm speaking about. The opposite is the ability to connect, which is a very different stance and posture. It takes a tremendous amount of courage. And push against everything you need to push against, which is your entire belief system, which is significant and it's been around for a while and does not want to lose. And that's the sacrifice to be in relationships, which is the other board. I want to connect with you as you are. I don't need to change you so I can feel safe. I can feel safe in my own skin, damn it. It's not your responsibility to make me safe. I can do that on my own. And I'm better off if I can do that on my own. And then we can actually be together. You're not a threat. Ooh, that's nice. I feel tingly. I accept you, even with all your flaws. And there's many of them. Oh my goodness. We're flawed in so many different ways. And if you see a disruption in your life, and one that's been around for a while, what you'll notice is you're not really accepting somebody as they are. There's some complaint or judgment that's leading the way. I accept this part of you, but not this part of you. And so I don't accept you as a full being. And that's the problem. And so the attempt is to accept you as you are. My commitment to establish an individual relationship with you, which will allow for your individual expression, which is very difficult, to actually want somebody to express. Then you have to ask yourself, well, what is that? What are you willing to tolerate within relationships? And you have to understand that. And I'm not talking about you just get to express whatever the hell you want when you want. That's not what this is about. That I'm giving you the allowance to complain every moment you can. That's not what this is about. but to attempt to be in relationship with you as an individual and to support you having the expression that allows you to be your best self in this relationship. And to encourage and to support people talking and speaking up if they are speaking to the best self, best side of themselves. Let's negotiate. Let's trade some reciprocal favors as a way to support each other and become stronger. That I do this for you, you do this for me. This is good. We're in a relationship. We're trading favors. We're becoming stronger as a consequence through our relationship. And that's good. It's very easy to take people for granted. That's the tendency. We lose sight of all the efforts people make on a daily basis to contribute to us. We don't say thank you. We don't appreciate at times. And so making the effort to appreciate where you can. And let's be together to make each other stronger and better. Versus the opposite. Let's attempt to weaken each other and play games with each other and see where that takes us. Best that we contend with each other, learn and grow, and that's one of the beauties of being in a relationship. You got to be willing to contend. But you grapple with each other. You don't really want to be with a pushover. There's nothing there to push into. And what happens is you just always get what you want. And that's not good. And so have the capacity to be in a relationship that you have to contend. And in that tension in some ways is the energy and capacity to change, which is necessary. And the worst part of you doesn't want that. The worst part of you wants to win and to shut other people up. The best part of you wants to contend with people. Tell me how I'm behaving. Tell me where I'm doing good things and where I'm not. That's the kind of relationships we actually want, because there's growth associated with those kinds of relationships. What's actually good for you is good for me. So if you're doing good, I'm doing good. That's how it can be in relationship, and the opposite is true. So how can I support you being good in this relationship, which has nothing to do with protecting you? It's not what this is about. How do you establish yourself in this relationship into your value hierarchy? And how can I support you being that? Your best version of yourself in this relationship, because that's good for you. And if it's good for you, it's good for me, absolutely, because I get to be with you in that state. What a beautiful thing. It's a wonderful thing. And you already know what that feels like. It's very appealing, intriguing, when somebody chooses to be their best self in your presence. It's riveting, and the very thing that we want more of in our life. But we have to set ourselves up for that. And so you really have to make the decision when you're attempting to connect. Are you really attempting to connect and to make things better with this individual? Or is it the opposite? Are you simply trying to win? And if you ask yourself seriously that question, it might frighten you of how you posture yourself in relationships at times. And so today is very much about connecting and how you connect with self. We're going to go into some practices. We're going to chant and pray and meditate and these kinds of things. What you'll notice is how your mind will attempt to dominate and try and win over your body. Stop making the effort, don't do it. You feel sore, you're tired, give up. Nobody's looking anyways. All those excuses. Meditation, I'm just going to fall asleep for the next 8 minutes because nobody's looking. All the ways in which we can resign and give up on our commitments. The idea is not to do that. The mind wants to do that. Take the shortcut. And so the resiliency, the discipline, the commitment to be in a relationship, and it starts with you, absolutely. What a day it will be. Day of connection. And so if you string these practices together, you chant, you kriya, you meditate to be with yourself, and right after that, you'll have the opportunity to be with another person, to share. And so that's what you're building into. Having the capacity to be with somebody, how you want to be. So I have a question for you out here in the audience. How do you attempt to win in relationship? What's a term and condition that you layer over somebody in your relationship? Do you attempt to censor them? Do you attempt to, I don't know, tell them what to do? What do you do in relationship? A particular term and condition you have in a relationship designed for you to win. Anybody have a statement? If you expand this out into strategies that we've been exploring, people-pleasing and perfectionism. People-pleasers tend to be what you just mentioned, you know, kind of this harmless, kind of fuzzy bunny. You know, it's like, aw, let me cuddle you and take care of you. You're so cute and harmless. You won't hurt me, and so I'll take care of you, you sweet little baby kind of experience. And people-pleasers are very much attempting to do that, win people over with their cuteness and harmlessness. Perfectionists is more about taking control of situations, and that's how they create safety. Adopting responsibility and making the decisions. And if they're making all the decisions, then they're in control. And so that's one way that perfectionists can take over a space, take over a relationship. So the people pleaser, it's kind of this harmless experience. You just tell me what to do, whatever you want to do, as long as you take care of me. That's the term and condition of a people pleaser in various different ways. I'll do sweet things for you if you just keep me safe. And the perfectionist is the opposite of that in various different ways. I'll control, make all the decisions, not give you a decision, because I know what's best for you. And so what's fascinating that is perfectionists are often attracted to the people pleaser, and people pleasers are often attracted to the perfectionist. It's like, instant conflict. It's fascinating that way. And best to understand the strategies you use and what you get attracted to. We're attracted to qualities. Yes, other things too, smells and, you know, how people look and all that kind of stuff, but it's qualities that we feel we don't have, that we get attracted to. And if somebody else is playing out those qualities, we don't have to. And guess what? You get to stay the same, which is a deep commitment we have. Don't change. You're good. So there's a lot in this conversation, how we connect. It's quite fascinating and complex in various different ways, but also simple if you can map it. And that's what we're attempting to do during our time here. So you can actually have the kinds of relationships you want in life. You have to be willing to sacrifice to get them, and it's a significant sacrifice. And let that be the case as you move into practice. Sacrifice something. Give it up. The more you know what you're up against, the better off you are in terms of making decisions and the necessary decisions you have to make, which aren't easy and are painful at times. But so what? Make them anyways. All right, we're going to move into practice. That's what's in front of you. Let it be riveting and amazing. And bring you to your mat. That's how we're going to start and begin. You on your mat. You, the individual.